Guys, this is just a quick rundown of all the series thus far. All the game ones have essentially been played, and just what to expect from the series going forward. We're going to start with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies have been on a roll. They beat the Spurs, they beat the Warriors just to get to the playoffs, and they beat the Utah Jazz game 1. All of that, to me, spells a lot of danger for the Utah Jazz, just for the simple fact that Memphis Grizzlies are playing their best basketball. And that's what you want to be doing. You want to play the best basketball when you walk up into the playoffs. And they're doing exactly that. They beat tough opponents just to get in. And then you look at Ja Morant playing his best ball of the season, period. And now you're looking at the Utah Jazz, who essentially got arrogant. They felt like, we don't need Donovan Mitchell game 1 because we'll take care of business. They looked at it like, we could afford to drop a game, and they can't. This is the first time you've ever been in this position ever. You can't afford to drop any games because you lose a game, it kills your confidence, or guys get into foul trouble, or they expose something about your defense or your offense that now going forward they can't use. And one of the things that they exposed is the fact that with the Utah Jazz, the dribble penetration the Memphis Grizzlies were able to get was unheard of. They have a problem on their hands. That's going to be a 6 or 7 game series because the Utah Jazz have not learned how to win yet. Portland Trailblazers against the Denver Nuggets. Jamal Murray, I would have given the edge to the Denver Nuggets. Of course, flat out, because they added Aaron Gordon, a bigger body and stuff like that. But guys, there's nothing in this series right now that tells you the Denver Nuggets are going to win. I know Jokic is an MVP. I know they have depth or whatever the case is. A couple years back, they went to a 7-game series against the Portland Trailblazers. You know who I picked that series to win that series? I picked the Portland Trailblazers. And who ended up winning that series? Portland Trailblazers. Because I said a couple years ago, I said you cannot outguard the guards that are CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. You don't have Jamal Murray to give you those 50-point, 40-point games anymore. There is no way that the Denver Nuggets are going to win this series. And a lot of people were saying, like, well, you know, the Portland upset them. This is not an upset. Portland beat them before. I mean, a slightly modified version because Gordon wasn't there, but Portland beat them before. That's not an upset. That's no upset at all. Like, that's normal. That's normal. So when Portland advances, don't be surprised. That wasn't an upset. Guys, Lillard is hitting. Carmelo wants revenge. Lillard wants some more respect. Portland is stacked. And they have Yusuf Nurkic back. And they have Kanter coming off the bench. So they got bigs for days. I mean, the best big is Jokic, but he can't outdo the perimeter players that are in Portland, which are CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. He just can't because he doesn't have Jamal Murray, his running mate, to run that pick and roll. Moving on. Lakers, Suns. This series, I still favor the Lakers. One thing that I just don't like, and Anthony Davis showed this, he has these flu-like symptoms where he's no longer Anthony Davis, he turns into Shea Davis. You know what I'm saying? He turns into Antonio Davis, like another basketball player used to play the game basketball. He just needs to grab a Snickers and turn into himself. So, game 1, especially with the CP3 injury, which makes things interesting, expect in game 2, LeBron putting CP3 in a lot of pick and roll. They're going to attack CP3 a lot. Frank Vogel plays basketball like a offensive, defensive coordinator. He goes at your team's weakness, and the way he plays defense, he structures the defense in a certain way. So, Lakers lose game 1, but it wasn't because they tried their best and they lost. It was because they didn't bring their A game. So, the next game, I expect the Lakers to put a better showing, and I expected that game to be down to the wire, but Anthony Davis needs to have a larger presence in everything. So, I'm not too worried about that series. Now, if they go down 2-0, look, guys, and they don't have a good showing, that's different. My favorite series, Dallas against the Los Angeles Clippers. Guys, Clippers are deep doo-doo. Last season, in the bubble. They went 6 games with the Dallas Mavericks and a couple game winners from Luka Doncic. What was the difference, guys, last year to this year? Kristaps Porzingis didn't play. Now they have a big that can stretch the floor. And even in game 1, when the Dallas Mavericks took that game, Kristaps Porzingis didn't play well. He was like 4 for 13 from the field. He didn't play well. But just him being there, another big guy stretching the floor, that is going to bode like crazy for the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks already stole home court advantage, play with house money. This is another 6 to 7 game series. I'm leaning towards the Mavericks because until Paul George or Pumpkin George or Cinderella Slipper George shows up and shows out, the Clippers aren't going anywhere. Kawhi Leonard, I know he didn't want to go to the Los Angeles Lakers, but honestly, he should have. It would have been Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. That's a three-peat team right there. He didn't want to. He didn't want to stay out of LeBron's shadow. Now he's stuck with somebody he's not in the mental capacity to do what he needs to do. Moving on to the East. Philadelphia 76ers and Wizards. That is a dangerous series for Philly because Philly feels like they're the superior team. They approach the game like they are. Their game plan is solid and sound. The only problem is they get away from their game plan. Joel Embiid starts off strong in the paint, and then he starts drifting out, which hurts their game plan. So while I expect Philly to really still win the series, they're up 1-0. Don't think they're not going to be some nail-biters, some overtime. Bradley Beal, the way that I look at everything, I know they want Russell Westbrook to be the point guard. Bradley Beal should really run the show, and Russell Westbrook should be like an off guard. And Bradley Beal should be making more decisions than Russell because the thing with Russell, he takes a lot of bad shots. Now, if he's put in a position where he's able to kind of like be more of an off guard, a combo guard, instead of a point guard, then it's better. Like to me, Ish Smith should start, Russell Westbrook be the 2, and Bradley Beal be the 3. They should try that, especially if they go down 2-0. That makes more sense than anything. Brooklyn Nets versus the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, they don't have a prayer in this series because you saw in game 1, they played semi-well. That kid Roger, I forget his last name, but the third, they need to start him because he got a triple-double off of. He almost had a triple-double of points, blocks, and rebounds. He almost had like 10 blocks. He contested everything. The problem with the Boston Celtics is they just can't stick to a game plan. When the Brooklyn Nets made their run, everything collapsed and everybody started going one-on-one. So they don't have a chance, especially without Jaylen Brown. I mean, I think they could win a game, but most likely they're gonna get swept. New York Knicks against the Atlanta Hawks. The Knicks. The problem with the Knicks is this: Tom Thibodeau is too loyal to Derrick Rose, guys like Derrick Rose, and some of his other former players that just can't guard down the stretch. R.J. Barrett couldn't really guard. The guy that they drafted, he really couldn't guard. And for the defensive principles they have, I'd rather him do this. I'd rather him play the young guys, let them make a couple mistakes in the playoffs, but let the older guys play some minutes, not a whole bunch. Because he's just so faithful to like guys like Derrick Rose and stuff like that. They can't guard Trae Young. They cannot guard him. They can't keep him in front of him, and that's a problem. You even saw the pick and roll down the stretch when Trae Young hit the game-winning shot. He went by 2 guys that were trying to trap him. He got around 2 guys trying to trap him. That doesn't make any sense. So he's gonna have to play his younger guys. I believe number 5 on his team. He has enough quickness and speed and strength to guard Trae Young. Because Derrick Rose can't do it. He just can't do it. Milwaukee Bucks against the Miami Heat. Guys, every year is the same thing, and it just keeps manifesting itself every time. The game, basically, people are saying like, well, wow, it came back down to a big shot. Game came down to Giannis. And Giannis down the stretch, he folded at the free throw line. He was the reason why the Bucks couldn't close out the Miami Heat. Game basically, goes into extra innings or overtime. Of course, I'm just using baseball terminology. Giannis cannot close like something down the stretch with his mentality is just not there. It's not there. Even when it was like down to the wire, I'm thinking the ball's gonna be in Giannis's hands, and it's not. So that just goes to show you like he just can't close. He just doesn't have that pedigree. The Miami Heat, if they already think about this, they're gonna what is it called? They're gonna institute Hacker Giannis, and to me, the Miami Heat are still in a good standing to win the series. Even though Milwaukee's a better team, they got Drew Holiday. It's still the same mistakes. Like honestly, Drew Holiday was one of the biggest factors of them, being in a position to win the game with Giannis to sink some free throws. But Giannis down the stretch, he's gonna spoil the whole thing because he just can't hit his free throws, and that's gonna be a big problem in itself. So Miami Heat, if they're looking at everything, they gotta say this is what they're saying right now. It took overtime for us to lose this game, and it's still a Herculean effort, a game-winning shot or whatever the case is. All that being said, Miami's in good shape. They already seen everything. They already seen all the wrinkles. They are very familiar with this team. The only thing I want to say is with Milwaukee Bucks, if Giannis doesn't get on that free throw shooting tip and be able to knock down at least 70% of his free throws, they're not winning the championship. Who's Junction? Who speaks Hoopla? Like, comment, subscribe.